Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Resonant Blade devlog. Thanks for joining us today, and in case you're new here to the channel, this is a devlog series about my solo indie dev project Resonant Blade, a 2D sci-fi action-adventure game inspired by Zelda and Hyperlight Drifter, where you play as Atlas and fight against waves of dark synth AI, harnessing the sonic power of the Resonant Blade. In the last video, I showed you all some of the new enemies that I've been working on, and I really think that those have helped inject some new life into the game. And for this week, I'm happy to introduce a couple more new enemies as well as a couple of new player abilities. So yeah, let's jump into it. The enemies in today's episode play a more supportive role than offensive like before. The first one, the repair bot, is exactly as the name suggests. It's basically a little floating robot that goes around healing other enemies. It's fairly easy to destroy and doesn't have too much HP. The repair bots actually resemble your trusted droid companion Otto, who actually saves Atlas at the beginning of the game. So the basic AI for the repair bot's behavior is that they will wander around idle until a nearby enemy is injured, at which point they'll fly over at a faster speed and then heal the enemy. I think the healing visual effects are okay. They're the same as Atlas's cymatic heal, but I might add in something else like flashing the enemy sprite green when it's healed or something like that. I still need to add in some sound effects for the UI target lock effect that I added.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target.
And also when the repair bot is idling. So this other enemy that I added in also plays a more supportive role, and it's more of a stationary structure than an actual roaming enemy. It's a resonant shield generator.
Prepare to target the main generator. Target, maximum firepower.
That can generate a shield around a group of enemies or objects. It has 3 rings around it, each with a specific resonant frequency. Scanning it will reveal the colors and the frequencies. Hitting the shield generator with those 3 frequencies in order from bottom to top will destroy the rings and disable the force field. You'll need to hit all 3 of the rings before they recharge and reset. Basically, there's a timer that starts after you strike one of the rings, that upon reaching 0 will reset the rings back to normal. Crawler enemies and sword fighters that are behind the force field will remain there until the force field is destroyed. After that, they will resume their normal behavior and attack you. Snipers, on the other hand, will still fire from within the force field, but remain stationary until the force field is destroyed. I think these 2 supportive enemies will help make the combat more varied and allow the player to come up with different strategies on the fly for dealing with these enemies. Some other things that I've added to the game are more player abilities, aka triads. The last new triad that I showed a couple of videos ago was the time stretch ability. And that creates a slow motion time dilation bubble around the player that basically slows down enemies and their projectiles. Another new triad that I added in is called Feedback Frenzy. It requires 3 red resonances to activate. This ability acts as a buff and will increase Atlas's damage output for every consonant strike on an enemy up to 5 times. So you can really dish out the damage with this one. Atlas's damage will be reset to normal if he takes any damage during this period or once the duration of the buff expires. Maybe this will be too overpowered, but it's a really good way to make quick work of more beefy enemies like golems or bosses.
I still need to add in some audio cues for starting and ending the frenzy, and also some kind of indication for the current damage multiplier. If you guys have any ideas for what I could do for the visual indicator for the damage multiplier, let me know in the comments down below.
Another triad that I added to Atlas's arsenal is the EQ Aegis. Aegis. Yeah, it's Aegis. This one is also another buff type ability that boosts your defense instead of offense. Damage received will be reduced by 50%, and you'll also be immune to any crowd control effects, like getting your scanner disabled from slimes, being knocked down by golems, or being stunned by jellyfish. This can really help you out in a pinch when you're trying to take on a bunch of different enemies with different resonances, and it'll give you a better chance of taking them out before you get killed. And the last thing I wanted to cover in this devlog were just some quick fixes and housekeeping with UI and sound effects. I had to rebalance the volume for the menu sound effects. Apparently, I had generated these sound effects differently when I first created the menus a long time ago and forgot to remove that method. So some of the sound effects were using the old method, some were using the new one, and so some of the sound effects, like the selection sound in the inventory menu, were a lot louder than the selection sound in the triad menu. Those were actually playing back twice, making them louder. And then for some UI updates, I added in some more of the triad descriptions in the triad menu and used a color changing visual effect on the title text of the selected triad. Alright, that's it for this week's episode. Don't forget to consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up down there and leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Yeah, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.